Hey guys, Mark Holthe here. Sorry, I am running a little bit late today. So those who are waiting patiently to watch this EE Live Q&A, I am about 13 minutes behind. Busy day in the office today, but that's okay. I'm those who are diligent and hanging out there wondering, Mark, what are you doing? I am back. So welcome to the Express Entry Live Q&A, hosted by myself, Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher. I will wait a few seconds here while this gets out to the Facebook feeds of all of the fine members of the group, which have now reached 120,000 members. I never dreamed it would grow to be that large. Anyways, let's open this up here. And like I said, I am going to let people connect, and people are now jumping on. I can see them all. Let me know where you're listening in from. Say hello. And it's crazy. I decided this week to post a few notifications telling people that I have that the EE Live Q&A is happening, and I was amazed at how many questions I got. If I could show you guys, I don't even know if I can show you how many I have here. But anyways, there is a ton. So we're going to go through a few of these. We're not going to get through all of them. Kiran says hello. Miriam says hey. Hey guys, Jasdeep, good morning. Kiran's from Dubai. Duraj is from India. Awesome. I love when you guys connect and let me know where you're listening from. It's so cool. My goal is to try to get almost someone from every continent. Now, the reality is Antarctica is probably going to be a little bit more challenging than normal, but I don't know how many people from Antarctica actually live there. but I love when I can get people from literally all over the world. But just to start off with, I just wanted to let you guys know that it is literally, it blows my mind how many people are a part of the Express Entry Law Facebook group. And just over the weekend, I crossed over 120,000, and it actually caught me off guard because I am actively revising and renewing all of my complete step-by-step guide course. And it's fantastic. I had some people tell me that the original version was more Canadian-centric, so it was tended to focus more on people that were qualifying through the Canadian Experience class. But the reality is, when I looked at it, I thought, you know what, I can see that. So now the resources that I'm adding in, the tutorials that I'm doing, and this is an actual video walkthrough, everyone. I have had the opportunity to incorporate some new technology that helps the videos be just a little bit better. And I've gone through all of the profile videos, and I'm starting on all of the electronic application for permanent residence section. I've already revised a lot of them already, but I'm trying to go through and update everything in there. And so I wanted to get all of that done before I had this big, massive celebration launch for crossing over 120,000 members. But because of everything that's been going on, including my son Adam, who is going back on his mission, we're super happy about that. He is leaving on Monday, so essentially a week from yesterday, to go down to his mission in the Caribbean. And he is first flying to Curacao, and then hopefully he's then going to be able to get over to Suriname, where he's been studying his Dutch and trying to prepare himself to spend the next 2 years of his life down there away from our family. And there's nothing that is a better training ground for a young 18-year-old kid than to go away, leave his family, and go work and forget about himself and just serve and help people and spend his whole time just trying to make the world a better place and not worrying about himself and his own selfish interests. So by the time you come back, it just gives you a whole new look on life. And really, that's where who I am right now as a person was a direct product of the 2 years that I spent serving a mission for my church in Portugal. So there's the scoop, guys. Let's see where everybody else is jumping in here. So Sarah gave a big heart there. Awesome. Pritha is Dubai. Carol joined. Hi, Carol. Carol and I we're a part of the same BNI group, so I'm really excited. She's got an awesome catering business here in Lethbridge, and we, yeah, it's great to have her connecting here. Let's see, who else do we have? Umaid says, "How are you, sir?" I'm doing fantastic. Sultana says, "I want to go to Canada, but I didn't see any way." Oh, Sultana, you have no idea how many people I talk with. The rules for express entry, the qualifications necessary to get invitations to apply are becoming more and more and more difficult. And so you pretty much have to have a master's degree, almost 3 years of skilled work experience, and be no older than 30 years old in order to be able to have enough points to get an invitation to apply. So I feel for you, Sultana. There are many people in your situation. Mahanad. Yes, Mahanad. Jordan, welcome. And then AB is from Morocco. And then Kazi says, "Can you tell us something about PNP?" You know what, Kazi? I think that is something that I should probably talk about. And lots of people that I do consultations with, one of the things that I do is we spend a lot of time talking about the PNPs, and they're just not as good as they used to be. They're not. Obviously, every single person that has opportunities needs to get a profile into the express entry pool, which will then give possibilities for the PNPs that have passive programs. In other words, they just pick and choose people out of the pool, but you don't actually apply. Those individuals, you can only get drawn through those programs if you actually have an active profile. And then some of the other ones that are more expressions of interest, where you submit your application and wait to the PNPs. Those are possibilities, like the Saskatchewan Immigrant Nominee Program. They've got their express entry subcategories and the occupation in demand, and Nova Scotia and PEI. And so those provinces have programs. But generally speaking, job offers drive the ship with most of the PNPs. And it's just not as easy because there are massive amounts of people that want to immigrate. And if they don't have at least 440 comprehensive ranking system points, then let's face it, they're not going to get drawn and receive an ITA through the general express entry stream. So then people are looking at, well, what do I do? Do I consider going to school? Well, that's a possibility if your age is in the right range. But you have to get that study permit. And with there almost 500,000 study permit holders in Canada, it's becoming increasingly more difficult to even get those. So then you say, okay, well, can I get a job offer? Well, you guys all know how hard that is. So right now, express entry is becoming a more elitist program. And those who are lucky enough to find themselves here in Canada through either work or study, and those who are relatively young but have really high academics, and I should not discount language skills. So yeah, so I get questions all the time, like Rahul says, which province is good for IT professionals and IT project managers? Like those questions are ones that I get more than any, and that's it requires very, very detailed, specific analysis to determine what possibilities are ready. And that's why I do consultations, and I do a lot of them, guys. And a lot of people talk about, Mark, where are you? How come you're not replying to comments when I post them in the group? Well, guys, I physically cannot. It's impossible for me to do it. I cannot maintain my law practice and answer everybody's individual questions. So because my time is so precious and I want to share it with as many people as possible, the only ability I have to do that is through these EE Live Q&As, and then taking the recording and posting it on my Canadian Immigration Institute page. But for those who say, well, Mark, I can't afford your fees. You're a Canadian immigration lawyer and I can't afford them. Well, at the end of the day, I recognize that. And that's why I created the Express Entry Do-It-Yourself Guide. And, you know, I talk about that a lot, but this little guide right here, guys, at a fraction of the cost, that guide is better than every stupid overseas agent or consultant that you guys are paying your thousands and thousands of dollars to. And lately I've been getting so many consults with people who used a consultant. And I'll give you an exact example yesterday, okay? So I had a consult with one of our members, and he was sitting at 432 points. And so he's been sitting at that level for over almost a year. And so I know which agency he used over in, I'm trying to remember if it was Pakistan or India. I think it was Pakistan. I know the agency that he used, okay? And he's been sitting at 432. So he reached out to book a consult with me. And I went through his profile, which of course the agency created his profile through his own MyCIC account using their login and their password that they created for him, which I have huge issues with. If you're a representative, the application should go through your portal, especially when you're not giving the login and password to your client. But aside from that, he's been pestering them. Where are we at? Why has my application not moved forward? You know, in February, I'm going to be a year and my profile is going to fall out. It's going to expire. And so he booked a consultation with me. It took me about 2 minutes to zip through it, to look at it. And guess what I saw? I saw that on that profile, the report that was generated by IRCC, it showed his spouse as having 0 points for education. So how many points are attributed to a spouse? 10. 10 points. So then I thought, okay, well, his spouse must not have any education. Wrong. His spouse actually has a 4-year bachelor's degree, but he was never told to go get an ECA for the spouse. How many points is a bachelor's degree? 8 points. Can you do the math? 432 plus 8 equals what? 440. So what does that mean for this person? It means they've been sitting around in the pool for over a year, for almost a year when they could have been drawn. How many times has the round of invitation dropped to 440? It just did. And so this person could literally have already been a permanent resident. But this useless agency, which I have a temptation to name them, could care less. They take your money, they don't take ownership over your file, and they do absolutely nothing for you. So for you guys over there who say, Mark, you're $5,000 Canadian that you charge for full representation, I can't afford it, then that's fine. I created this for you. That's why I created it. And so people, if you're too cheap to spend the $97 US a month to get monthly access, which basically allows you to go in and you could review every video in there in a month and then cancel the monthly subscription and you'd be good. $97 US, that guide is worth every penny that's offered. But if you're too cheap to do that, then guys, and you just want to hire some agent in your country, or you want to go through the process and fumble through yourself, then more power to you. But I've seen it happen so many times. That guide is awesome. And it has all of the knowledge that I'm pouring out here, all in one systematic place. And the whole guide itself is a video walkthrough. The actual express entry process, completing. I'm videoing myself doing it and explaining commentary as I go. And then not to mention all the resources that are available. So you guys, you can do what you want, but I'll be honest, I'm getting tired of doing consults with people who have engaged some overseas agent who has screwed up their life. And then there's nothing that I can do, because what if we go through the process in this client, what if it never goes down to 440 again? And they have their ECA done, which is going to take probably 2 or 3 months for their spouse. And the ECA is not going to come in time. Their age, they have a birthday, which then drops 5 points. Then they're done. So, okay, well, whatever. I know you guys understand what I'm talking about. You wouldn't be a follower if you weren't. But all you that just happen to jump on and are watching this crazy Canadian immigration lawyer talking about express entry, listen and pay attention. Either hire someone that you can trust, which I don't even know who that is these days. I know that a Canadian immigration lawyer is 5,000 times better than a consultant, for the simple reason if that Canadian immigration lawyer screws up your application, you can report them to the Law Society and huge issues for that lawyer will result. As far as the consultants, well, that whole process is a joke. The consultant's regulator is absolutely useless, and your likelihood of getting any recourse if they botch your application like they did for this client yesterday, they're not going to do anything. And so you guys can decide. But if you can't afford to hire someone like myself, a Canadian immigration lawyer, then that is why I created this thing. All right. And so if I'm to go here, I'm going to share my screen with you guys just quick. And I'm going to show you, if I got this straight, there we go. All you have to do is go to CanadianImmigrationInstitute.com. And right here, guys, you will see where you can log in and you can check out the whole course. And if I scroll down here, you can see how it's broken down. Every single part, the basics of express entry, preparing to submit. So this is even before you do it, your profile. Module 3 is all about completing your profile. And how you answer these questions can determine directly whether or not you're going to succeed. And then you can just hit this down arrow and it really reveals the balance of the modules. Completing the EAPR forms. And I can tell you this section right here, Module 5, is the most popular. It's all about uploading your documents and filing the EAPR, the document checklist for the principal applicant, the spouses and dependents, all of this. And then the resource section is full of my absolute best videos and content. Some of it I've pulled directly from the Canadian Immigration Institute that's publicly visible, but a lot of these are private, only available for clients that retain me and members who purchase the guide. So, all right, I'm not going to beat this horse anymore, but when people complain that Mark is not answering questions and not helping and giving me free information, well, I'm done. Like, I'm not listening to that anymore because I've created so many resources for all of you awesome people. And this is the mechanism right now where I'm giving and giving. And so right now we've got a whack of people watching this live, and there's usually 4,000 or 5,000 people that check the live videos out, not counting the YouTube channel, which is growing. We're over 11,000 people subscribers to the YouTube channel. Why? Because Facebook throttles these things and they never make them appear on your timelines. Anyways, I've spent enough time jabbering about all these things. You guys have been really patient and people have been posting lots of questions already. So what I want you to do is hold off on your questions, those of you who are watching this live. And wow, you can see even with, I wonder if I can change this on the fly. I wonder if I can. Probably not. No, I can't. How I've got this named, I forgot. I was in such a hurry to get on here and do this that I didn't really put a live title. So, and talk about what we're going to be commenting on here. So bear with me. The people that, oh, Mauricia, she put a link to the guide. You rule. Mauricia is so awesome. She's one of my absolute best moderators. And no, I don't pay Mauricia. And no, none of my moderators are employees of my company. These are all volunteer people who just appreciate what I'm trying to accomplish here. Okay. All right. I think we've spent enough time. Now it is time for me to turn over to the questions that people are asking. And these ones today, I'm going to go through just a few, and then I'm going to reward all of you awesome people who tuned in live, and I'm going to spend a lot of time answering live questions. Okay, this first one is from someone who is anonymous. They've asked for me not to reveal their name, so that's totally fine. So here's the question. Thank you for taking my question. It is about disabilities and immigration. Okay, this is one that we get, that happens a lot. So I'm going to put here, make sure I write down the time. So this is about disabilities. So he says, I have a mild to medium stammer. So that's kind of a stutter. And those of you who are wondering what that is, it's kind of where people kind of have trouble talking like that. And I've got a lot of good friends that have that problem, but that stammer. So however, it is not recognized as a disability where I live. I have a master's degree and 1 year work experience, so my points are expected to be enough for me to apply for open express entry. I intend to reveal my stammer as a disability in my IELTS exam to get leniency in being judged on speaking. Should I also reveal this to CIC when I file my application? What are the consequences of having enough points to qualify but such a disability? I have no contagious diseases or anything that would be a problem in my medical exam. Please guide me regarding this. So first off, right now, I can tell you, anonymous person, that having a stammer or a stutter in no way is considered a disability in Canada. It does not create a situation where you could be medically inadmissible in any way. Interestingly enough, when it comes to writing the IELTS, and I know that many of you probably are not aware of this, I'm going to put in here, I'm going to see if I can find it before I shift gears to you guys. Let's see if we can pull this up. I'm just going here to do a quick search. And I think this is it. Yes, here it is. Okay, I'll share my screen again. And what I want you to see right here, people ask questions about, okay, language, how does the language testing work? This is the link right here. And maybe I can actually just copy it. And I'm going to paste it right into the comments here, if I can do that. There we go. Okay, and then I'll jump back here. So this is information on language testing. But one of the questions that comes up sometimes is people have learning disabilities. So a stutter, I would consider that as a potential learning disability. It's not something that would make you inadmissible to Canada. But some people, when they're writing the tests, struggle with that physical or mental disability. And this is what makes Canada so awesome. If you do have something like that, you can actually go forward and go through the process of requesting a modified exam. So maybe you need more time to write the test, or there's some other accommodation that could be available to you. But you have to prove the physical or mental disability. And so one of my awesomest clients of all time, we went through this process with him, and we had to go through and get a psychological assessment, an actual report to confirm the disability. And so that confirmation, that report in terms of the assessment, was what allowed him to only be assessed on his speaking, not listening, reading, or writing, because of his disability. So the cool thing about that is when you have a disability of some form, then you can actually have your scores averaged. So for example, in this case, I think it was the CELPIP, I think is what we did. We got the approval for it. And so essentially all he had was speaking. And because he was in Canada, it was at a 6. And then listening was not tested, reading was not tested, and writing was not tested. And so we averaged it out. And for him, you could see here, it gives you a 6 in all areas. So for this anonymous person, if they can actually get a psychological assessment done to confirm that the learning disability is actually a real disability, which obviously stuttering is. But if that is a reality, then there is the possibility of having scores averaged. And so that's really cool. It's one very, very cool thing that I'm really proud of my country. Okay, great question. That was one that we haven't ever asked before. I don't think so. Okay, I've got so many questions here, guys. Okay, this one here that we have next is, we'll put it here. This one is from Vesha, and Vesha says, "Good day. Thank you for your responses thus far. My employment reference letter does not have my duties and responsibilities. I'm getting a past supervisor to do an affidavit for me, in which I work directly with him. Do I need to have another supervisor to do an affidavit to cover the period before this set period of time? That would be extremely difficult, though, as I've lost contact with him. Would a letter of explanation for that period suffice? Thanks very much." So Vesha, the key for all work experience that you're trying to claim is you have the onus to prove it. And there are a number of different things that you can do if you can't get a reference letter that covers off the essential components. But the obligation is on you, Vesha. You have to do everything. And attestations really don't carry any weight. So you're going to need to find someone, even if the supervisor doesn't work there anymore. If they work somewhere else, you can get a hold of them. If there's another coworker or someone else, and so you have to look at all of the possible things that you can draw upon to try to prove those things that you're missing, the duties and responsibilities. And often that happens. And those duties are essential because they're the ones that help an officer to know if you actually perform the duties that relate to the knock code that you're claiming as your primary knock, or within the work history you're claiming. So a short answer, Vesha, in this situation, you can't just use your letter of explanation. It's going to be very, very unlikely for that to work. You need to do everything in your power to get any kind of third-party information that you can rely on. Okay, great question, Vesha. All right, this one here is from This one's from Envis. And Envis says, Dear Mark, I've been following all your videos about express entry, and I have a question about processing times. How long does it usually take from acknowledgement of a receipt to the confirmation of medicals exam passed? As far as I've understood from experiences published by people in your amazing express entry page on Facebook, it does not exceed more than 20 days. Do people have to worry if the deadline of 20 days has passed? And this is a great question. Guys, please understand that there is no set processing times between stages. It depends on so many different factors. It depends upon the officer. It depends on what their caseload is, how many applications they're working on. It depends upon the volume of overall applications that are being processed at that time. There are so many different factors that apply. And so generally people can talk to one another and get a general feel, and that is approximately 20 days. That's probably pretty accurate from acknowledgement of receipt to the medicals. But understand that process is at the very beginning. There's so much more that has to happen. All the background and security checks, that's where the delays really happen. But getting the actual acknowledgement of receipt to confirmation that the medicals have passed, that happens at the very beginning. And so you could get it in 20 days. But then the real variation is what happens after that and how long the background checks take and the security checks. And all of those are based on the countries that you come from. Some countries require a lot more time than others. People that are currently living in Canada, those background checks often are already done in the process of getting the work permit. So they're not going to take as long. In some cases, some countries it's just nasty all around. So 20 days, I wouldn't get worked over. I would not get worked up if you are past the 20 days. I don't worry about that at all. And remember, what's the minimum processing time? At least the one that the government tries to hold to, is that 80% of the candidates who are applying, their EAPR portion will be processed in 6 months. That doesn't even count the other 20%, which you could very well fall into. And if they ever have to come back and ask for additional information from you, then the processing times are out the window. All right. Great question, Envis. Okay. This question here is from Suman. And Suman says, I would love to get your expertise on my case. My ITA expires in December, and my medicals show that I had to go for further investigation. So there's a sputum test and a chest x-ray scheduled on January the 7th. And it exceeds the application submission deadline. What should be the best option for me? Would love to get your expertise on this. Okay, so you would have received your e-medical information sheet. And so even if you've got follow-ups, that's what you include. You include what you got from your first medical examination. And I better make sure that I'm keeping track of these timing. So in this situation here, you are going to actually submit the first e-medical information sheet. Even though there's follow-up examinations needed, that's what you're going to upload. And you're going to provide a letter of explanation showing the date that your appointment is scheduled for the follow-up and any other supporting documentation that you can provide. And in those circumstances, you should be fine. But you need to make sure you've got that first e-medical information sheet and provide a little bit of an explanation that the tests are still ongoing. Okay? It's similar to someone who's expecting, who is pregnant and waiting for their child to be born. And they can only complete the blood work. They can't do the x-rays. And so in those circumstances, it's the same thing. And so you should be just fine, Suman. Good question. All right. Okay, next one. This one is from Akhil. And Akhil says, hello, Mark, sir. I am Akhil from India. I have completed my Bachelor of Science in Optometry, 4 years from India. What is professional degree? Is optometry considered as a professional degree? If yes, then how many CRS points we get for having education in optometry or any other professional degree? Is bachelor's degree enough for getting points in professional degree? Thank you for your valuable time and reading my mail. You know what? This is a great question, Akhil, and I'm going to use this one to create a short little video just on the professional world. But in the interim, I'm going to see if I can go on here and find the section. Let's see here if I can find it. That specifically talks about this because I want to show you if I can find it. Ah, found it. Okay. Bear with me here, guys, while I puzzle through this. Actually, I'll flip over and share my screen here. What the report means. Okay, actually, I'll show you guys this. This is everything that you wanted to know about an ECA. And this is the site. And actually, I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it right into our, I should be able to get it there. There we go. This is an excellent resource if you guys haven't found it. So it talks about what is your ECA. It goes through that in detail. It goes through in this regulated profession. Let's just see. I want to just click on this. Okay. So it has the instructions. It has the language averaging. I'm going to go back here. It has all the information that you would need about educational credential assessments. Now they've changed this a little bit on me, so I'm going to take a second to just find what we're looking for. Secondary assess, 2 or more, when to get your second one assessed. Okay, there's lots of good stuff. How to get one. I think it's probably on what your report means, probably. I think it should be here. Who can do your designated professional, designated organizations. Okay. Let's see if we can find this here. They have changed this on me. Now I'm having trouble finding the professional list. Let's see if we can find it here. Okay, well, I'll show you on this page regardless. If you are wondering what your ECA means, so you actually get your educational credential assessment, this is an awesome place that you can go to figure out what it means. So if you're using it for the comprehensive ranking system, you can click on here and then click on See Points and then search for whatever your ECA says here on the left. And then it tells you how many points you would be awarded under the for express entry. So you can actually search for different headings here. And so let's see if we put in here. Okay, so Doctor of Optometry, professional degree needed to practice in a licensed profession. So I can see right here, Akil, that for an optometrist right here, the professional degree needed to practice in a licensed profession is the one if you've got a Doctor of Optometry degree. And you get 126 for your spouse, with a spouse, and 135 without. Okay, then you can see here, first professional university degree in optometry, 126. 5 or more years of professional university study in optometry, 126. 3 to 6 years of professional study in optometry is still 126. So optometry fits on the list. What I was trying to find was the list that had all of the accepted occupations under the profession. Oh, I know where it is. Haha, I know where it is. Sorry. I'm going to shift over here again, and it's in the CRS criteria. So if you're wondering if your occupation has a chance, you go here, and then you scroll down to the actual education conversions. There it is. Sorry. So professional degree, these are the only ones that work, okay? And you'll see medicine, veterinary medicine, veterinary medicine here, dentistry, optometry's on the list, law, hooray, I'm on the list, chiropractor, and pharmacy. And so you use these collaboratively, use these together. You use this to determine what your report means, and then if you make sure that your profession is on this list. All right. What's missing? Engineers are missing. They're not on the list. If your profession isn't on the list, then it's not considered to be a professional degree. All right. Woohoo! That was actually a pretty good one. That was a great question. Okay. Next one on the list is Supriya. And she says, Dear Mark, please let me know how many number of roles and responsibilities do we need to include in our reference letter? And once again, as I'm doing this, I am frantically trying to keep track of the timestamps. And you guys will remember, I think, whenever I do this, I try to put timestamps by each of the questions and then the topic to make it easier for you guys to search. And that includes both you guys on Facebook and you watching this as a recording on the Canadian Immigration Institute YouTube channel. Okay, so back to what we were talking about here. So how many number of roles and responsibilities do we need to include in our reference letter? I have now prepared a reference letter which has only 6 roles as per my NOT code 1111, which is an accountant. 6 roles, would that be sufficient or do I need to add more? My agent, see, this is the thing that drives me crazy. People hire an agent and then they come ask me for the questions. Unbelievable. just buy the stupid guide. You don't even need to use the agent. You can do it yourself, and that guide will teach you and help you to know more about the whole process than that agent will ever do for you. Okay, my rant is done. My agent only prepared it for me with the draft I gave them. Seriously, your agent's not doing this. Your agent should have nothing to do with your reference letter. You are the one who's working with your employer to make sure that everything is accurate. Okay, the agent said, he said it's enough. But after showing this reference letter to some of my friends, they asked me to include more to be in the safer side. Why the freak are you hiring this agent, Supriya? This is ridiculous. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's go in. I'm sorry I get such a vitriol reaction to this, but I can't help myself. All right, let's go here, and we're going to go to the NOC 2016, and we're going to type in right here. Scroll up so everybody can see. We're going to type in 1111, okay? The law, which your agent doesn't have a freaking clue about. I gotta careful. I have to be nice. I've been really, in my prayers lately, I've been trying to be more Christ-like. I've been trying to find better ways to just be a nicer person. And one of the things I've been working on this week is trying to be kinder. So I am so sorry that I was slagging your agent. I have to be kinder. I can say that I think your agent is incompetent in a nicer way. And so I will try to do that. Your agent is incompetent. I'm sure they're a nice person, but maybe they shouldn't be helping you or being paid to help anyone with express entry. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Financial auditors. The regulations under the Immigration and Refugee Protection Regulations specifically state that the person must perform a substantial number of the main duties. Okay? So a substantial number of the main duties, what does that mean? Well, it's probably not half, because that's half. A substantial number is more than most, because most would be like 51%. But it's not all, so that doesn't mean all. So a substantial number, and many people have kind of tried to figure out what this percentage is. I usually say it's about 75%. Now for you, Supriya, I don't know if you're an auditor or if you're an actual accountant, and there's a number of different bullet points. But here's what I do. Anything that says may means that it's not mandatory. So I remove it. So if I look at this list of financial auditors, and I have no clue how many you said 6 roles would be sufficient. These are 2 different positions, okay? Financial auditors, accountants. So you're talking about 6 different roles. Well, I don't even know, there's only really 3 available for auditors. And then here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 essentially. 5 on this one. So these ones may act as a trustee, may supervise. They're not mandatory. So I don't use those in my calculation. So I want to have at least or right around 75%. If it's a little bit lower, well, everything is contextual, right? It's up to the substantial is up to the determination of the officer who uses their wisdom to determine whether or not they agree. So when it comes to you choosing how many of these duties, then I look at trying to establish at least 75%. And here you can see for a financial auditor, well, there's only 3 duties that are explained here. But within here, there's a bunch of other stuff. And so generally, I like to try to hit every one of these. So in this case, if you only have 2 out of the 3, well, that's what? 66 and 6666%. And so I would probably want to try to include all of these in here. But for an accountant, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 4 out of 5 is 80%. 3 out of 5 is maybe a little bit lower. But if you're saying that you've got 6 roles, are you trying to satisfy both of these? Because these are 2 different positions. And so I can't actually, Supriya, answer your question specifically, whether it's enough or not, because I don't even know what duties you actually did. But understand, I usually go with about 75%. And if I don't have 75%, then I make my pitch. I do the best I can to justify. All right. One tip, don't just copy these duties and put them down. Don't. Do the job description as the company normally does, and make sure that you are that you're using your own words. So don't just copy and paste. All right, excellent. Okay, the next one that's coming up here, this one is from Jagjot, And Jagjot is starting. I love that name. That's awesome. Jagjot. You know what? If I was still having children, I would seriously consider that name for one of my children. Jagjot. Jag. Hey, Jag. I wonder if they call Jagjot Jag. Awesome. I love your name. Okay, moving forward. Jagjot says, I've got a bachelor's degree from India and a post-graduation diploma of 1 year from Canada. Hey, I want to ask anyone who's watching here, I'm not sure if you guys are, you're probably all laughing at me so hard. I don't know if Jagjot is actually following this here, but I want you to post here in the comment section if you know of someone by the name of Jagjot, if you've got a friend with the name of Jagjot. I want to know how common this name is. I'm loving it. This is awesome. Okay, so just post in the comments if you have a friend named Jagjot, because if Mark and his wife were still in the period of having children, I would seriously consider that as a name for my child. That is so cool. Okay, so Jagjot has a bachelor's degree from India and a post-grad diploma of 1 year from Canada. Okay. While calculating my CRS, there are 2 questions. Enter your highest level of education. Do you have a degree or diploma from Canada? My question is, for the first question, do I need to select A, 2 or more degrees, diplomas, or certificates, bachelor's degree or equivalent from Canada or foreign, or B, bachelor's degree? Okay, so the most important thing here, I don't know what your post-graduation diploma of 1 year is. So any post-grad, if it's only 1 year and it's not like a master's degree, then and your Indian degree equates to at least 3 or more years of post-secondary education, then you're going to put 2 or more degrees. So that's the key. If you have a bachelor's degree, like you've indicated, that has been equated through an ECA to be at least a 3 or more year bachelor's degree in Canada, and then you've got a 1 year diploma in Canada, as long as it's from a designated learning institution, then you would put 2 or more. And obviously that's going to give you more points than just the bachelor's degree. And you'll get the extra 15 points for the Canadian education. Yeah, and he says here, selecting A shoots my CRS to 477. Woo, awesome. And selecting B lowers my score to 444, which makes sense because the bachelor's degree gives you lower and fewer points than 2 or more degrees, one of which at least 3 years. All right. Great question, Jagjot. The awesomest name in the history of the world. I love that. Okay. You know what, guys? I've got a bunch more here. It's crazy how many I still have here, but I'm going to hold off now. I'm going to stop there for the actual list, the send-in questions. And remember, if you are watching this and you're wondering, how can I send a question so that Mark will answer it? Just right here, you're going to go to mholthy@stringham.ca and you're going to put EE Live Q&A into the subject line. And that is how you can send me a question. You must put this exactly as it's listed there. If you don't, and you just put EE or Express Entry Live Q&A, I only search my subject lines for EE Live Q&A. And then once I get them, I copy them and print them off. And so if you don't use those exact words, your question may not get chosen to be answered here, or I will send it to my legal assistant, Charlene, who will then go through the process of setting up a paid consultation with you. And remember, guys, it's always possible. And I don't know, Maricia, if you're still listening to the, if you're still on, but if you can post a link to the consult booking section, you guys can actually, maybe I can just do it just as fast here. Stringham right here. And I will just share my screen here, see if it comes up. So this link that I'm posting here is where you can go to book a consultation with me. And you just enter your information in here. Where did you hear about us? Make sure that you always select Facebook, Express Entry Law Private Group. That's where you heard me, or the Canadian, or YouTube Canadian Immigration Institute channel. So select where you listen from, and then that will go to me, and that's the way that you book a paid consultation. And I will go over here to this, and I will post right in there the link. Maricia may even have beaten me to the draw there, but that's okay. All right. So those of you who do not get your questions answered, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And I'm more than happy to schedule a paid consultation. I do that more than anything else. All right. It's now time, guys. So in the comment section, I'll try not to miss it. Oh, Mauricia did get it in there. Starting now, right after Mauricia's comment, I will now accept live questions. Okay. So if you have a question, just post it in the comment section and I will do my very best to try to answer it. And this section is a little bit footloose and fancy free because I just can't keep up with everyone's questions and track them. Okay, so Razib is the first one up. He says, I'm planning to land by air. I'm actually going to push this up here. Okay, I'm planning to land by air from the US. However, later I'm planning to drive to Canada from the US with my car. Okay, I do not have a car yet, but planning to buy one after I come back to the US once I'm done with my soft landing. Thus, I won't have my car listed in my things to follow list. Will they let me in? Well, yeah, they'll let you in for sure. But you have to understand that anytime you buy a vehicle and it's not a part of your goods to follow list, then you could be subject to tax. Okay, and so that's the reality. That's an interesting question. Good question, Razib. But yeah, you can't if you don't actually own it. I guess you could technically, if you've identified it, what car you're going to bring in, you could try to put it on the list, but nah, you couldn't do that. You actually have to own it. Okay. Samara says, I have 2 work experiences, each of 1.5 years. Would it be counted as 3 years in total? Yeah, it will, Samir. The key for you is that one has to be your primary occupation. So that primary occupation then forms the basis of the Federal Skilled Worker Points Assessment, or the CEC if you're in Canada. And the minimum is 1 year of continuous work experience. And so once you've met that threshold and you've reached under the Federal Skilled Worker Program at least the 67 points out of the 100 for the selection criteria, once you've met the minimum eligibility requirements for the Federal Skilled Worker Program with the 1 year, then yes, you can, those will all be bundled together and you should get, as long as you've got everything properly documented, you should get your full 3 years in total. If for whatever reason, Samir, you do not, then it's probably because you've entered something in wrong within your profile. Okay. Sidra says, is there any way to get express entry by 7 band score? I have 2 or more degrees. Sidra, this is the reality. Unless you have at least a CLB 9, you just won't have a prayer, because you need that 9 to get all your skill transferability points. And there's 100 up for grabs, and it makes all the difference in the world. So 2 or more degrees is great. I don't know what your age is, but a band 7 is just not enough. It just isn't, unless you're actually working in Canada right now. All right. Okay. Next question is Ashish. He says, please tell possible valid reason for non-accompanying spouse. Guys, who cares? You list your spouse as non-accompanying. You don't have to justify everything. Okay. If they come back and ask a question, well, you tell the truth, right? Most cases, people, when they're listing their spouses as non-accompanying, it's because their spouse is not coming to Canada right away. They could be finishing up work. It may be that they want to stay at home until you get settled in Canada, find a place to live, and they want to stay at home with the children before everybody travels. And then you're going to sponsor them later once you get to Canada. Like, there's a whole host of reasons. So don't get worked up over that. All right. Waka says, I have all the experience letters, contracts, etc., but the company is closed. I have tax documents as well. How do CIC verify experience? Ultimately, they will do whatever they can. They'll take a look at your documents. If they believe that they're good enough and they can accept them, then you're not going to have an issue. If they have doubts or feel like it's fake or somehow your documents are fraudulent, the onus is always on you to prove. And if they don't like your proof, they can reject you. And that's where, without putting plugs in for us, well, no, I'm going to plug. I'm tired of not plugging the value of an immigration lawyer. That's where an immigration lawyer can actually help you to go through. And especially an immigration lawyer who worked as an officer, who has a good idea of what the officers are thinking. and those immigration lawyers across the country that are heavily involved with the Canadian Bar Association and other immigration lawyer associations who interact regularly with the government and have a very good idea about what their officers are looking for and what works and what doesn't. So Yeah. Okay. I'll leave that. Moving on. Okay. Bapasha says, how delay can PR be after getting ITA when we add a newborn? At least 6 months. I've had at least 6 months it's taken to get everything completed with one of my clients. So that's an example. It could go faster, Bapasha, but it's not unusual for the whole process to be delayed a whole nother 6 months. Hopefully less. Hey, Jagjot. Woo! Yeah, man. Hey, thanks for the answer. He's in the game. Sweet. Okay. Pavneet, will my spouse's Indian work experience attract extra points for CRS? No. There are no points for comprehensive ranking system for spouses' work history outside of Canada. You only get points for in Canada. So guess what I have my clients do? If they're outside of Canada, I am not going to put any work history for the spouse outside of Canada. No points are awarded. There's no purpose in putting it in. All it will do is force you, when you get your ITA, to then have to put all of these irrelevant documents into the your own personal document checklist. It's a complete and total waste of time. So don't waste your time doing it. It's only for Canadian work experience that you get CRS points. Okay. Let's see if I can keep. These things are all bouncing so quick. And if I skip your question, understand it's because so many are coming through, and my feed, I'm going to show you guys what I see here just so that you know. So here, when I'm moving this and trying to read your questions, other ones are being added, and Facebook doesn't always keep them in the order in which that you post them. So sometimes it shifts around. So you can see there's Jag.'s. He's got, hey, thanks for the answer. And there's Pavneet's question there. So understand that, you know, if it doesn't work out for whatever reason, wow, that's a cool view. Do you guys see that? It's like this mirror that goes on and on and on. Okay, I got to stop getting distracted here. Sorry, guys. Today's a fun day. It's a beautiful day outside. What's the temperature right now? Let's see how nice it is in Canada here. Oh, look at this. Do you see that? 14 degrees Celsius. It's a beautiful day. And unfortunately, I had to drop my son off for seminary in the morning, which is basically early morning scripture study with the youth before they go to high school. So I had to drop them off. So then I drove instead of riding my bike. And you guys can see, right? I'm starting to put on a little bit of weight because I'm not riding my bike as much as I normally would. But that's all right. Okay. I guess I better go to the Y. All right, so here, let's see. Okay, so Jazz Deep says, got CLB9 in my third attempt. Awesome. Been trying since July 2017. Very cool. Waiting for Wifey's West report. I'll be hiring you for full representation once I get all the documents ready. Cheers. Peace of mind. Hey, Jazz Deep, that's awesome. I am going to look out for it. I'm super excited, though, that you're able to get CLB9. That's awesome. So congratulations. And I am delighted to be able to work with you. Okay, so there's Jazz Deep. Sanjay says, hi, Mark, if we have recent travel to the U.S. in our travel history, does it help speed up background security checks? Not really. It doesn't. Ultimately, it's just one more factor that they look at. You know, travel to the U.S. doesn't add or take away. It just is. Obviously, they're not concerned about travel to the U.S. It's not a big deal for them at all. It's not like you're traveling to the desert hills of Afghanistan or something like that. That's my weak reference to being an Al-Qaeda warrior. But anyways, that's probably not appropriate either. But the reality is traveling to the U.S. really doesn't make much of a difference. So no, it doesn't speed up security checks because they still have to check the countries in which you are from and your nationality and where the police clearances came from. Okay. Sidra says, is there any way to get EE by 7-band score? Yeah, I already answered that one. Nope. Megamind. Oh my goodness. That's hilarious. And I love the actual image, the profile picture. Megamind. Hi, nice to meet you again. By the way, your shirt is very nice. Good choice. That is so awesome. Oh, Megamind. Okay, moving on here. Okay, Anexela. Let's see. Did you like my tie too? So I got this nice tie I'm rocking today. Okay. Let's see. We'll keep cruising. Megamind. Okay. Anexela says, I've been following your video recently and I have a question about updated information, such as a change of address or country of residence. After submitting from outside Canada or the US an EAPR, Shall we have to send a case-specific inquiry in this case? Shall we need to send it on the IRCC web form or in the IRCC web form of the visa office outside Canada? You do not have to update your travel history. You do need to update your address if you've changed your address. And so if that's the case and you actually have moved and you've relocated and you have a new country of residence, then yes, you go through the case-specific inquiry and there's a section where you can update your address there. Good question, Anixela. Okay, Milagros says, I need help finding my NOC. I'm from Peru. I have a bachelor's degree, 5 years here, and I work for a company that's dedicated to factoring as an operations controller. Do you think I have a chance? Okay, Milagros, I'm going to tell you right here. I'm going to share my screen again so everybody can see. Hopefully, a whole bunch more questions don't push this down. But I have a blog post that I did, Secret to Finding, there it is right here. And this here, guys, is on my Canadian Immigration Podcast site. This is where it all started. I just did another podcast episode recently, but I'm going to copy this. And this is a great resource that's available for you. And let's see if I'm going to reply personally to Milagros right here, paste it in and enter there. And then I'll go back, see how that works. Okay, that's a great source. So, and what I use, finding the correct NOC is probably something that I do more than anything else with my consults as well. So that's what I recommend for you, Milagros. Okay, Vivek says, regarding medicals, I got high BMI with high BP and diabetes detected during medicals. Further tests done were serum creatinine and was okay. What to expect now? With cost threshold increase, is getting rejected a possibility? Well, obviously the cost threshold, and sorry, that's got to be really freaky for you guys trying to watch this never ending. That's actually really cool. I'm looking at my own screen and watching this never ending videos of Mark. It's quite hilarious. Anyways, let's see. So I get so distracted, guys. So Vivek, it's hard to tell because the actual assessments have to be done. But yeah, with the tripling of the minimum amounts, that actually makes it can make a big difference in the whole process. But I can't specifically answer medical inadmissibility stuff without actually going through the cost of everything, because it's the costs of treatment and care, right? Okay, Sidra says, is there any way to get EE? Okay, I already responded to that one. Okay, Mahanad says, if I traveled after submitting my application, do I need to inform CIC? If yes, how? No, just basic travel history. No, you just have to update your address. So your application is locked in at the EAPR stage. So you don't need to go and update your travel history unless you physically moved and you have a new residence. And then your mailing address and everything has changed. Okay, Pavneet Sood says, actually give me 1 second, guys. Okay. All right, I do have a consultation coming up in about 10 minutes here, so I'm going to wrap this up pretty quick. Okay, let's see. Okay, Ania says, let's see. Okay, hello, I have 3 years of work experience from September 2015 to 2018. I was both studying, master's degree, and working. I wasn't insured by my old employer, so he is giving me a reference letter which includes all the required details and also mentioning that I was not affiliated and that I was paid in cash. Can I claim this work experience, and will the reference letter be acceptable if he mentions the 2 additional details? Thanks. It's hard, Ania, to know for certain what will be sufficient in your situation. People are paid by cash a lot. It happens. And the reality is the reference letter is the most important part of that component. If you look at the personal document checklist, it asks for your reference letter as well as pay stubs if available, and that's it. So people that are paid by cash, if you have pay stubs, that's great. If you don't, then the employer reference letter is going to have to be the source that you rely upon, unless there's some other confirmation like bank deposit slips or things like that. But often with cash, it's hard to track those kinds of things. So, but when it comes to your situation here with the reference letter, ultimately what's explained there in the reference letter, as long as it meets the minimum requirements of IRCC and has all of those essential components that we've talked about a lot within these videos, the title, your job duties and responsibilities, your hours worked, your pay, your annual salary, those kinds of things, right? As long as it has all those things, then unless there's some reason to question or doubt, then you're usually not going to have too much of an issue. You will need to confirm, though, especially the hours worked per week. So when you're studying and working, remember, if it's full-time you're claiming, it has to be a minimum of 30 hours a week. Okay, Paris says, hi, sir. I'm from Pakistan. I have a PhD in botany and more than 6 years teaching and research experience. Is it easy to find a job in my field? Okay, I'll take just 1 second, Paris, here, and I'm going to end with this one. I know you guys have got a lot of questions there, and I appreciate everybody tuning in, but I want to show you guys a resource that you can tap into. And if you go to jobbank.gc.ca, and I think botanist was what Paris had said. Botany. So we'll go with botanist. You can go here and you can search by Outlook. So this is labor market information right here by Outlook. And so what I do here, let's see if we've got botanist. See if that comes up. So botanist, and we go search. This gives as accurate a data as you can get for what the job outlook is for that occupation in each place. And so good is 3 stars, fair is 2 stars, and limited basically means there is not many jobs, okay? Or undetermined means there just isn't enough data to know better. So Newfoundland, insufficient data. PEI, 3 stars. Nova Scotia, 3 stars. New Brunswick, 3 stars. Quebec is 2 stars. Ontario is 2. Let's see, Manitoba's 3. Saskatchewan's 2, my home province is 2. So you can see that's where you go. And all you have to do is type in your information, whatever it is. If you're a lawyer or whatever, what do I got going on here? Just type it in and then select your position and then search it. And then it will pull up the information that you need. Somehow I didn't get that in there. Let's try this again. So you can just type in your occupation and then select the one and then search for it. I think it's going to load up here. We're just going slow. That's why. There it is. And so then I can do the same thing for my position. All right. So there you go, guys. I hope that this one today was really helpful and useful for all of you fine folks. Actually, I don't think was I not sharing my screen? I probably wasn't. Oh, it's one of those days, guys. One of those days. Oh, no, I did share it. Okay. Oh, maybe I didn't. Okay, let me go back here and I'll share my screen again. This is here, so it's the job bank, and all you're typing in is jobbank.gc.ca, and then you're going here to the menu and searching by Outlook. And when you search by Outlook right there, that is what allows you to then punch in your specific code right here in the occupation. And so if it was botanist, you click on it there and then search it. And then it will pull up the job outlook for your position and to see which provinces are better. All right. Okay. As always, you guys, it's been an absolute pleasure having you join me. I'm so grateful that there were so many people that tuned in today. Oh, I guess I had that in the way too, didn't I, when I'm showing you guys things? Boy, this is some amateur production. Oh boy, it would be so amazing if I actually had post-editing and, but I don't, so whatever. Such is life. So once again, right here, guys, Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide is the bomb. It's the one thing that you absolutely need to subscribe to. And I'll give you I'll let you guys all in on one little secret. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, no, that's not it. There it is, right here. Here's the guide, okay? Right here, if you click on Enroll in Course and one-time purchase, lifetime access right here, if you send me a private message saying, Mark, I want the 50% discount, I will honor it still for you guys. And if you put in the coupon code right here that I give you when you reach out to me via Messenger, or I'll even accept an email, I will give you the code. And I'm only rewarding people who actually stick with me and watch the whole video. But I'm also going to let you know that I'm in the process of relaunching. Like I said, it's already updated. All of the things, it's a live update. When I revise a particular section, it's instantly up there. But you can see here, monthly subscription. I actually have a new promotion that I'm going to be launching here as soon as I get the rest of the course as a way of just building recognition, I guess, for the new version, which is like, it's even better than the other one. And all the most current data, the most current information, and all of this is going to be available for monthly subscription members at a substantial discount as well, which is even lower than the 97. But this time, guys, at this stage, I have not advertised this to the world, but going forward, I'm actually going to start notifying the world that this course exists. And so you guys have helped me to make it what it is today. Your questions have helped me. And now I'm going to release it to the world. And that will be via Google and other other paid advertising. And if any of you guys are good at social media marketing and paid advertising, let me know. But other than that, this has been just an awesome EE Live Q&A. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope all of you guys have just the most awesomest day, and I wish you all the best as you navigate this crazy world that we call Express Entry. Take care.